Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to talk about something that's been on my mind for years. At first I thought it was about game mechanics, then I thought it was about sandbox MMOs. Eventually, I realized it was about something much simpler, about the worlds we choose to call home. Sometimes, when I see a new MMO being announced, I find myself thinking about all the worlds I visited over the years. Some of them stayed with me for years, like Ultima Online or Eve. Others, I barely remember, and every time that happens, I ask myself the same question. Why? At first, I always start in the same place. Combat, crafting, the economy, progression, all the systems people usually argue about. I try to understand which ones worked, which ones didn't. But somehow, I never stay there for very long. Sooner or later, my thoughts always drift somewhere else. The other day, I caught myself remembering something from Eve. It happened years ago. Back then, it didn't seem very important. Today, I think it was. One day, Eve introduced a new system. It allowed players to buy and sell skill points. I never used it. I simply kept playing. But something felt different. Not dramatically, nothing that made me think about quitting. Just different. At first, I assumed I was simply getting tired of Eve. After all, I'd already spent years there. Maybe that's what happens. Or maybe real life had simply become busier. Those explanations sounded reasonable. So, I accepted them and I never looked any deeper. Life went on, I kept playing, for years, and then it happened again. A different mechanic, a different time, a different situation, but somehow the same feeling returned. I didn't think much of it. Then it happened again, and again. That confused me, because those mechanics had almost nothing in common. So why did they all leave behind the same feeling? I still couldn't answer that question. Not then. Years passed, and little by little, I started noticing something, not an answer, a pattern. Every time I remembered one of those moments, I realized I wasn't remembering the mechanic itself. I was remembering how the world felt after it appeared. For years, I thought I was comparing mechanics. Maybe I never was. Maybe I was comparing worlds. I kept playing. I kept flying with people I cared about. I still joined fleets. I still logged in. But eventually, I realized something. I wasn't logging in because I wanted to live in that world anymore. I was logging in because my friends still did. And somehow, those two things had quietly stopped being the same. Looking back, I don't think any single mechanic drove me away. I think each one changed something very small, something I could barely notice at the time, but together, they slowly changed the place I had once called home. That's what took me years to understand. The problem was never whether I used those mechanics. I didn't. That's when another thought appeared. Maybe some mechanics simply add new possibilities. A new weapon, a new crafting station, another profession. Those things expand the world. You can use them, or ignore them. The world remains the same. Only your choices change. But sometimes, a mechanic does something different. It quietly changes one of the rules that everyone shares, whether they use it or not. Rules are different. You don't choose gravity. You don't choose winter. You don't choose whether time passes. They simply become part of the world you live in. And maybe that's why I could never explain what I felt back then. I wasn't reacting to a mechanic. I was reacting to a world that had become just a little less familiar. Years later, I found myself standing in Pax Dei. A different world, different mechanics, different people. Almost everything was different. Except one feeling quietly returned. Not, is this mechanic good? Not even, will I use it? But something much simpler. If this becomes part of the world, what else changes with it? The longer I think about sandbox worlds, the less interested I become in individual mechanics, because mechanics come and go, worlds remain, or sometimes they slowly become something else. I don't think there's one perfect world, and honestly, I hope there never will be. I think every player dreams about a different one. Maybe that's exactly what makes sandboxes so fascinating. These days, when I see a new mechanic, I rarely ask whether it's good or bad. Instead, I find myself asking a different question. Not, what does this mechanic do? But, what kind of world quietly appears once this becomes one of its rules? Because maybe, that's what I've really been searching for all these years. Not better combat, not a better economy, not better progression. Just a world that still feels like a place I want to call home. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate a like. It lets me know these kinds of conversations are worth continuing. And if this made you think about your own experiences, I'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.